lads, welcome back to what is already episode 21 of the Toon Talk podcast brought to you by Magpie 24/7. I am joined today by our lovely co-creator of Magpie 24/7, Kyle. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I've been better. Obviously, coming home from the defeat at home today to Villa, but yeah, doing all good. I hope you are too, mate.
Yeah, exactly the same. I'm doing pretty well myself, apart from the footballing side, which was unfortunately a home defeat for us against Aston Villa today. I suggest we do indeed start with that game, and afterwards we can go on to the Champions League result and talk maybe a little bit more about Paris Saint-Germain coming up, which is the last game of our league phase campaign before we know whether or not we are in the top eight. So a pretty massive game for us to look forward to. But let's start with an unfortunately pretty disappointing result. Um, the lineup for today, let's listen to what Paul's thoughts were on that particular lineup.
So I've just arrived at Newcastle, got parked up, team news straight up, and yeah, one change since last time out, and that is Lewis Miley coming into midfield. Yeah, so no Bruno. Now, normally we don't win without Bruno, but we've got to start to learn how to win without the man, without his leadership, without his inspiration. And I think that is why Trippier has remained in the team, for his leadership, for his experience, for his professionalism, and that has meant for definite that Lewis Miley starts in midfield, because it could have been Ramsey starting in midfield and then played Miley at right back, but I think he's gone for that leadership, professionalism. It's like having another manager on the pitch for having Trippier out there. So he starts at right back, Miley starts in midfield. For the rest of the team, it's as you were. Visser is picked again. I think he's probably better suited to this sort of opposition than what Valdemar is. But look, if we're chasing the game at any point in the second half, we have the option to bring him on and form a two up top. Or most likely, it's a good rotation to have in the second half. Also, today, team news. I saw them sneaking there on the bench. Willa Sula is back. Dan Burn is back, so we have a little bit more cover. Again, if we're chasing the game, we can chuck Willa Sula on for 5-10 minutes at the end. The unpredictability factor is certainly there, and I expect to see Dan Burn. He's had a week or so's worth of training, and I'm guaranteeing you he will come on in today's game, and he's going to come on for Lewis Hall. So I've marked the cards on that one, unless there's an injury or anything else like that where he's needed at centre back. Eddie's spoken about how he's left back cover and centre back as well. So I think he comes on today because you've got to manage the minutes that Lewis Hall is doing. Obviously, he was injured. He's been trusted to the deep end because we've had no cover, no other alternatives. But I see Dan Burn coming on in the second half for Lewis Hall almost definitely in my book. But yeah, feeling confident. The team's is pretty much as good as what we could have gone with. Losing Bruno is no doubt a kick in the nuts, but we've got to learn how to do the business with and without him. So today we're without him, and hopefully that means we see him back against PSG in the Champions League midweek. Feeling confident. I'm going to go for a 2-1. I think it is going to be a close game. 2-1. We'll go 2-1. And I'll be back, hopefully, as long as signal prevails and all, at half time.
And I also want to hear your thoughts, Kyle. What did you think when you saw the team sheet firstly?
I think in terms of the way the way the team was set up, I was quite happy with it. In all fairness, given that we don't have Livramento available at right back, the only change I would have probably looked to have made was probably Miley at right back and maybe someone like a Ramsey or a Willock further forward. But no arguments from me in terms of the way we were set up. Um, in terms of like personnel. So yeah, in terms of the team, I was happy with the team considering what we've got in terms of personnel. But yeah, obviously it turned out not being a good matchup in many aspects of today's game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with most of what you're saying there. For the people who didn't see the game, the lineup was Pope in goal, Hall, Botman, Thiaw, and Trippier at the back altogether, Joelinton, Tonali, and Miley, which meant a very big omission for us. Our captain, Bruno Guimarães, did not make it to this game, which is a really,
Yes.
really unfortunate thing. I mean, Gordon, Wissa, and Barnes made up the front line, but the lacking, I mean, Bruno's presence in this midfield, we've just seen it again. It is so unbelievably important. Without him, we lack any sort of creative spark, and that has been showing throughout the season, even with him in this team. But without him, it's a very, very glaring, isn't it?
Yeah, I've said it many times to Paul this season, that Bruno carries us. He really does. Like, there's been so many instances this year where Bruno, when we haven't played well, Bruno's ability to drag us through a game of football is very is very prominent. And I think there's been like 4 or 5 games this season alone where he's been the difference or he scored the goal. Um, and in a game against such a tough side in Villa with a very good midfield, um, you're going to miss players like that. And I think he was very much missed today because we did lack creativity and we did lack that final pass, which I think Bruno does bring a lot, barring the first 10 minutes. But Bruno gives you a hell of a lot more creatively, and I just don't think we had that with Tonali in his place in the middle today.
Completely agree, yeah. And on Bruno Guimarães' creativity, I think he offers creativity both in a footballing sense when you're talking about creating chances for your teammates, but also a creative outlook on the game. Because what sparked me the most in this game was every player seemed to be given some pretty specific instructions, which they kept to religiously. But when Aston Villa are defending your attack so easily, Bruno Guimarães seems like one of our only players who has the mind of his own to come up with something new, something apart from tactical instructions, something that maybe he wasn't even worked on in training yet, just because he is thinking of solutions in real time in the game. And we lack players who offer us the same thing when he is not there. I mean, the record is there for everyone to see. When Bruno Guimarães is not in this team, our Premier League record is horrendous. It really, really is.
Yeah, it is. And I think a little bit of it, Ian, comes down to the manager as well. Not just Bruno Guimarães and not him being not in that game. Because I feel like when 4-3-3 does get played a lot in games, and there is games this season where it hasn't worked, whether it be teams are sitting in front of where and playing like a park the bus almost and playing defensively. We don't seem to have an answer for that, but we just
Mhm.
seem to not have the ability to change that up. So like maybe going two up top, maybe trying something a little bit different. But it has happened too many seasons where when we do too many games now this season where when we've lacked that creativity, it's been prominent so much this season. Like even look at last week when we played against Wolves as a key example, or even today where we just needed that last pass or that last bit of cutting edge, maybe trying something a little bit different, but we don't seem to want to change from the 4-3-3 when in games it just doesn't look like it's working sometimes. And I think that's a massive criticism of Eddie Howe. Like I'm not sitting here and saying I want him out, but I think it's a bad thing when a manager doesn't show like evolution a little bit and a little bit of growing where if it isn't going well in a certain game, he is able to like have the no fault to change within a game and maybe try something a little bit different. Um, because at the minute it does seem very square pegs round hole and it just doesn't seem to be working for in certain games. Don't get us wrong, when 4-3-3 works, it's great and more often than not when we play well, we do go on to win the game. But when we don't have that answer and like maybe when Bruno isn't playing or whatever, we need to find different ways of being able to create and different ways to be able to get the ball on target because barring what maybe one or two saves from Martinez early on and one in the second half as well. I don't think we offered anything really
Mhm.
creatively, and I don't like I love Bruno to death, but I don't want to be solely reliant on one player to be able to create those chances. And I think that's where the manager needs to come in a little bit as well and have maybe something a little bit different. Like Walter Morata's a very creative player, but I feel like we'll play him as if he's like as if he's like an old school target man,
Yeah,
where like we'll will kind of boot the ball up to him and rely on aerial duels and stuff like that. Whereas
mm,
Walter Mara isn't that type of player, and I just feel like we could be a bit like Eddie could be a bit less stubborn in that, and trying to get a little bit more creativity going and trying other ways other than Bruno G carrying with through games to win those games.
yeah, yeah. I think you make some really really good points there. Let's firstly talk about the manager situation because I think this is the first season where Eddie Howe's position has really come into question for some fans. At the start of the season, for the most part of the beginning of the season, there were a lot of critics and a lot of people who were saying maybe it is even time to go for Eddie Howe. Now, I don't think we will sack him before the end of the season. I don't see that happening simply because he's done too much for us and the club
Yeah.
hierarchy respect him rightly so. So that should be off the table. I completely agree with it being off the table. Now, after our poor beginning of the season, we picked up some form, but we also do have to say that when we started picking up some form and started climbing the table again a little bit, we were playing against poor opposition most of the time. We were handed a pretty good fixture run. Most of those games were at home as well because our home and away difference this season is still horrendous. But the point you make about him maybe not necessarily possessing a plan B or relying on the same tactics too much very much stands because there's a Belgian analyst who, when commentating over a Newcastle game, said something which very much stuck to me. He said Newcastle probably are the easiest team to analyze in the Premier League at this moment in time. You know exactly what you're going to get when facing Newcastle, and that's absolutely the truth. You know what Eddie Howe will do. Some names might change, but even when we look at the transfer window, when we bring in squad depth options, those profiles are very, very similar to the players we already have. So there
Yeah.
isn't that much differentiation to be had in this team. So you know what you're going to get with this Newcastle side. And I mean, I screamed about this all summer. I'm sure you did as well. We now said it again today when we face a D block, when teams sit and defend against us, we've really, really struggled to create chances. And with Nick Voltemade, I agree. I think he shouldn't be the last station of our chance creation. He should be somewhere in the middle, getting involved. I think that's when you get the best out of Nick Voltemade. All right. So, is there anything else you would like to add on that Eddie Howe situation?
I mean, in terms of like the criticism and stuff like that at the very start of the season, like it is hard because I think there is a strong narrative online in particular where if you criticize Eddie Howe, you automatically want him sacked, and I don't
Hmm.
understand this narrative. I really don't. Like, I feel like Eddie's had such a high standard, especially in his first couple of seasons at the club, and then obviously last season when we won a trophy as well, having such high standards and being able to play football a certain way and stuff like that, which is great. But like, I don't think it should be held against fans when fans try and hold them to that standard. I
Hmm.
feel like there's a fine line between obviously saying, "Oh, get him out, he's rubbish." He's it's not that's not the case. He's not rubbish. He's Newcastle's best manager of a generation. But my thing is I just would like to see if something's not working, trying to find different ways. Because like one being 1-0 down, being a key example here today. If it's 85, 86 minutes, it's 1-0. What's the what's the gate? What's the loss in trying to put another player, put a Sula up front. He was back on the bench today,
Hmm.
going two up top and just going for it and trying to
Yeah.
make something happen. And hell, if they put a ball into the box, it gets cleared, Villa break, score second and win 2-0. I'd actually sit here and say, I'm happier you showed intent than just sticking with a 4-3-3 and it not working again. because I feel like we've lost that exact same game about 8 or 9 times this season,
Yeah.
where 4-3-3 doesn't work, but it's just, oh well, we'll move on to the next one. And other people are noticing it as well. If the Belgian analysts are saying Newcastle are the easiest team to analyze at the minute, if a just a normal analyst who's doing stuff for TV can see Newcastle are easy to analyze, managers, scouts, analysts of football clubs will be looking at Newcastle the exact same way. Sit deep, frustrate, you'll get chances, and that that to me is very alarming if we're very easy to read as a team because we're still trying to play the same way. And don't get us wrong, against certain teams, it will work, especially in European competition that will come on to with PSV soon, or when we've played Bilbao or Benfica earlier in the season, where we've been able to show our qualities in them types of games. But I think in the Premier League, we need to see a little bit of evolution from Eddie Howe because I think if he doesn't show openness to evolve, then we're going to be having this conversation for years gone by if the club don't do something about it. And that's the concern for me. I want Eddie to do well. Eddie's done amazing for Newcastle, and some of the things he's accomplished is just out of this world. And I want him to keep doing that. I don't want him to be kind of being out evolved by his football team. I want to see him evolve with it. But if he doesn't, the club have a decision to make. That's how I feel on it at the minute in any way.
Hmm. Yeah, I think especially with the point about not necessarily being in the sack him right now or back him until the end camp, that there is a way in between. I think that's really important to remember here because I do completely agree. You have to criticize Eddie Howe about certain aspects of our performance this season. That's simply it. But you also have to respect him for what he has done up to this point. And I think
Yeah.
both of those things are quite clear when talking about Eddie's strengths and weaknesses. In my opinion, when it comes to preparation for a game, when it comes to having a week or 2 weeks or maybe even longer to prepare for a very big game, I think Eddie Howe is one of the best managers you can have because he has a very tactical mind. He can analyze an opponent really, really well, and he can get those instructions across his players very good. What he struggles with is impacting a game when the game is happening right in front of him, making a change which either positively or sometimes negatively, but that comes with the territory, but it impacts the game. We
Yeah.
consistently switch strikers for strikers, wingers for wingers, midfielders for midfielders, and expect things to change simply by bringing in fresh legs, I suppose. That is a very big criticism of mine for Eddie Howe, and I do genuinely hope he improves upon that. But for the moment, we aren't seeing it, and that's really worrying to me.
Yeah, I put like a meme in our Magpie 24/7 chat with like the writers and stuff like that, and it's from a game called Far Cry 3 from about
Mhm.
10 years ago, and the villain in it has a saying of, "Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?"
Yeah,
I, like, and I put Eddie Howe's face on it. Like it just seems like the same. It seems like the same thing over and over again. In fact, Ian, make it the thumbnail for
exactly.
the podcast. Um, but
I will.
it's like it's just batting me head against the wall because I feel like we've lost this game so many times this season, and it's just a stubbornness to not do anything about it. And I just want him to realize that if he just changes it up, sometimes it will work. Because
Yeah,
something Alex Ferguson always said, that always like if you one down, or if you're chasing a game or trying to win a game, try and win it by putting players forward and trying to make it work, because the the feeling you get from winning the game in the last minute it's great. And like, look at
yeah,
Leeds as an example at
exactly.
home early on the season, where the moment came and it dropped, and it was really good. And like the feeling around the stadium and around the dressing room that we'll get, just throw a couple of players up the field if we're chasing a game, and try and make something happen. And when it isn't happening with the 4-3-3, seeing that and trying to change something, that's kind of where the main criticisms from me come from.
Absolutely. Yeah. on the first half against Aston Villa, we came or we went behind after 19 minutes from what was a pretty nice strike from Emi Buendia. But what you do have to say is how much time did he get to get that shot
Yeah.
off? Hall, Botman, Joelinton, who I have a bone to pick with for about this game, because I mean we'll get onto him, but I'm seeing a lot of fan channels give him the highest match rating out of any player, out of any Newcastle player after this game. I would give him genuinely the lowest match rating. I'm not kidding. I am very cross with him after that performance, and I mean we'll get on to why. But all of those players I just mentioned could have closed down Emi Buendia for that shot, but he had all the time in the world to curl it into the far corner. And I mean, if you watch any Aston Villa game this season, you know those shots outside of the box are their forte. So why are we giving them the time to get one off like that?
Yeah, and it did it come from us giving possession away as well? Am
Yeah,
I right in
around,
thinking?
yeah,
Yeah.
in the middle of the park, yeah.
Who gave away the ball? Just haven't seen it back, that's all.
I don't know who gave it away. I think it was one of the front men, because it is Emi Buendia who sets up the attack with a ball out wide and then makes the run into the middle. But it's a pretty nice combination from Aston Villa, for which they get all of the time in the world too.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
did it did happen a good number of times where we lost possession in the first half, whether that be Trippier giving the ball away or whatever. But it just seemed to be a common theme when we tried to build
Mhm.
the ball up from the back. More often than not, we're getting closed down and we're getting bullied a little bit in that aspect. Barring the first 10 minutes where I feel like we took the game to Aston Villa and were really positive. I think barring that, it just didn't seem like it seemed like a constant thing. Like I remember Nick Pope having to make a really good save early in the first half as well in a one-on-one opportunity for Watkins, I think it was from
Yeah.
the other side of the field.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the amount of time Buendia gets to hit off a really good strike, and I had a good view of it from the other side of the ground. And as soon as he hit it, I was like, "This is in the net." It was a really good strike from him. To be fair to him, and yeah, it's just would need to be a little bit better and a little bit quicker to get out because Morgan Rogers just hits a quick
Mhm.
pass to him, and then he's got all the time in the world, and it's really disappointing that we're conceding goals like that.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's again something I think where we missed Bruno Guimarães, because he pops up everywhere to combine with players, create space for other players. His combinations with, I mean, him and Livramento, who are both missing today, get us up the pitch so many times. And now it seems like Lewis Hall is the only one who can get us up the pitch by beating people on the dribble, which, I mean, he's pretty fantastic at. The dribbles I've seen him doing over the last 5 or 6 games are genuinely incredible.
Yeah.
But we need to have more. We can't be so over reliant on one player, like you said.
But yeah, that's it. And to be honest, I think with the aspect of wanting something different, I wouldn't be against, honestly, Lewis Hall being pushed up the field
Hmm.
and playing in midfield because I think with him being
Yeah.
able to break the lines of press really well, he would actually be really good at that and offer something a little bit different
Hmm.
than what a Jacob Ramsey does or what a Joe Willock does.
Which we
Mine's
could have
more.
done if we did sign a fullback this January, but I mean we'd rather
That's it.
sit on our asses.
We're already quite short at fullback, as seen today with Trippier getting 2 games in a week, and probably shouldn't be at the stage of the career he's at.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just obviously finding a couple of different solutions, and I think one of the things I'd like to see is Hall further up because I think he'd cause a lot of problems in the midfield, like for other teams for sure.
Hmm. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Lewis Hall has been pretty great over the last couple of game weeks, even though our results haven't been. That's not down to him. So we did go on into the break with or being 1-0 down. I suggest we listen to what Paul's thoughts were on that first half.
Half time, down 1-0. Not very good. Well, apart from the first 10 minutes. So we start with the referee. How the fuck is he a senior Premier League official, mate? Because, I don't even think he's read the rule book. I don't of it. There's an Australian version of it that's a different sort of set of rules to the one that I've seen. I really don't know. It's been absolutely and utterly shocking, but to be honest, I think our performance hasn't been much better, probably from after the first 10 minutes right the way through. Misplaced crosses, no urgency, no press, can't retain, not winning the second ball. A whole litany of issues.
Yeah, for sure. And I think first 10 minutes, like you say, were really positive, and then Villa just started getting more and more into the game, and they're strangling the hell out of the game because the referee's allowing them to. Gillett has no control over this game, and it shows Villa are playing him like a fiddle, and he doesn't realise it. And with Premier League referees, it seems to be a common theme every single week where this is happening. Like the referee midweek was a breath of fresh air in the Champions League, because he wasn't afraid to have a bit of backbone, gave the right decisions, wasn't afraid to book players. Whereas this one, absolutely fucking useless, and it's just it's a common theme throughout, and it's not just the referee's fault on this one. We've got to want the ball more, we keep giving it away too much in our own half, which led to their goal. The game is still there, but we've just got to do what we're doing in them first 10 minutes and move the ball quicker.
Don't worry though, Carl, the thing is, right, with all these apology letters we're going to be getting off the Premier League referees lot, be able to fucking wallpaper and bring with them, sure.
I've seen it with Harry Potter where all the envelopes are going through the letterbox.
Hey, God, anyway, let's talk for a bit of second half, how we can turn it around. It's a big game of the season, and we need to win. So let's see what we do in the second half.
And then when it comes to second halves, we've seen two versions of Newcastle come out of the dressing room, in my opinion, this season. We've seen a version which gives the game away almost as soon as we get out of the dressing room, or a side that comes back and actually tries to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, if we are playing at home, that is. But today we didn't really show any of those. We didn't give the game away immediately, which, I mean, I'm not gonna say that's a positive, because that would be really bleak at this point. But it is something. We tried to work our way back in it, but again, that creativity really, really not there. I thought Tonali had one of his better games over the last month, but that says more about the month he's had than this particular game. I do hope his injury doesn't get worse and we would potentially miss him for Paris Saint-Germain as well. Knock on wood, because that would be devastating. And then in the 88th minute, Villa completely sealed the game, at which point I don't think any of our players even believed we would get an equalizer, let alone a winner at that point. So it was just almost rubbing salt in the wound from Aston Villa. Their first win at St. James's Park since 2005 as well, which was the game where our two players were fighting on the pitch.
Actually, when I parked up, I came up for seen a couple of Villa fans and were talking to them on the way to the ground, and they mentioned the last time that they'd won here was when Kieran Dyer and Lee Boyer started fighting on the pitch, and Stephen Taylor got sent off as well.
Exactly.
So it'd been a while for them, and it's been a bogey ground for them for such a long time, and obviously they've came here and won today. So I'm sure those Villa fans that I've seen today will be quite happy, but
Yeah.
I'd rather they weren't.
Agreed. And I mean, on Aston Villa, they weren't fantastic today by any stretch of the imagination, but they did just deserve the 3 points by virtue of wanting it more. What was really telling for me was that Aston Villa weren't even necessarily winning duels, but avoiding duels by placing their body in between the ball and our attackers really, really well, which meant our attackers couldn't even get into duels. And that just immediately signified who was up for this game and who wasn't for me.
Yeah, and one thing Villa did really well was they controlled the referee. Gillett today, he played into the hands. The amount of time Martinez had, whether that be in goal kick situations or having the ball at his feet at all times, it was just so frustrating. The referee didn't have control of the game at any point for me. Which I was saying to Paul during the game that it was actually a breath of fresh air to have a good referee in midweek, which I'll come on to. But this referee today was just so spineless and just gave Villa anything they wanted. There was a foul in particular where the ball goes up into the air. Onana for them, he jumps up. He's nowhere near it, so he just falls over midair and then just goes to the floor. Nobody was around him. Nobody was near him, but the referee still gave a free kick, and it was just like the. It was just unbelievable. The referee just didn't have any control of it at any point, and it just felt like such a such a frustration because it wasn't going our way to begin with in terms of we're lacking that final pass and just lacking in the final third in ways that we shouldn't be. And and then yeah, the referee just kind of pouring salt into the wounds, which was really frustrating to say the least. And yeah, it was just like it's just one of those games where it just didn't really work out for us at all. And that isn't just because of the referee. I'm not saying that. It's just like a case of nothing seemed to fall for in any department.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think it's a fair point to call out the referee for this because I do agree he fell into to Aston Villa's trap of blowing every single little foul and giving them time to be treated as well for those fouls. I mean, the one that pissed me off the most was when Emi Martinez uh, collected the cross from someone, stepped back against the post, and then just went down. I mean, I thought at that point, if you're the referee, give him a yellow card because you know what he's doing. But yeah, I mean,
Literally,
yeah,
I've seen this clip back on Twitter actually, and even his own centre back, Erzi Konsa, looks and just kind of like he's like, for fuck's sake, like, what are you
yeah,
doing? Like,
exactly.
it's embarrassing behaviour. Like shithousing and stuff like that is something very prominent in football, especially for away sides.
Mhm.
But my God, just
Yeah.
total embarrassment.
Yeah,
Like,
he is a clown, and I mean, this wasn't even a particularly violent game, or tensions were running that high because Aston Villa didn't have to get out of second gear, so there wasn't any need for tension between both sides. So really weird from Emi Martinez, but I mean, that's the kind of character he is, I suppose.
yeah,
Um,
he is very strange.
the one question I did want to ask you, I was wondering, this won't be for January because I've already made peace with the fact that we just don't do any business in January. But if we are looking for or to resolve that creative issue in the summer, what kind of a midfielder would you sign? Because in my head there are three ways to go about it. You either sign a number 10, which is a genuinely out and out creative force, but is something I doubt Eddie Howe is particularly interested in because it would probably mean playing a double pivot behind him. I don't know if Eddie Howe's open to doing that. If not, a deep lying playmaker is a possibility. Someone like an Adam Wharton, for example, who can play next to a Sandro Tonali or a Bruno and spray those passes from deep, spray diagonal balls to the flanks, or just cut straight through the middle to a Visa or a Voltemade. Or you sign a number 6, and then I mean a destroyer that you can play as your single 6, which would potentially allow both Bruno Guimarães and Sandro Tonali to get involved higher up the pitch. Which one of those three would interest you the most?
The one that screams out to me most, Ian, I'd probably say is an out and out number 10 because I feel like we already have a destroyer in Joelinton, and I think Tonali can play as a deep role in that kind of framework as well. Um, and then you look at kind of what other types of midfielders that we've got, well, like Willock and Jacob Murphy, where they yeah, Jacob Ramsey, sorry, not Jacob Murphy, Christ. Um, but like I just don't feel like their creative forces and aren't really offering anything different. Like we're linked with I believe El Canusi
Yeah,
before he went to Germany in the summer,
yeah.
and he's doing really well over there. And I feel like he maybe would have been a good one to bring in, just someone who's willing to offer something a little bit different and try and get in between the lines of a midfield and defence. And don't get us wrong, Adam Wharton would be an excellent signing for Newcastle for sure.
Hmm.
And it's one that and like if a Tonali was to be let go in the summer, because
Hmm.
he's been linked away, or Adam Wharton would be the one I went for to
Yeah.
replace him. Um, but I think for me that we've got to go for someone who's a bit creative and can give with a little bit of something,
Hmm.
like, and someone who can take a set piece as well, because this
Yes.
season,
Yes, please.
someone from a free kick, like, we'll get a free kick these days, and it's we don't look like we're scoring from a free kick at
Hmm.
any point. Like, I'm not sure when we last scored from a direct free kick. You get a couple of people lining up to it, Gordon, Shea, and none of them look like they're going to score from a direct free
Yeah.
kick, and it's just like
I mean,
it's
I
it's
don't
like
want to see Cher line up for a free kick ever again, to be honest, because I
yeah,
feel like every time he does line up, he's the one that shoots as well.
yeah, exactly, and he puts it in the stand, and it's no good. Literally, it's no good for it. And honestly, I'd rather we're obviously trying to bring in someone a bit different, and it's
Hmm.
it's almost like I'm wanting like a James Ward-Prowse, but it's not James Ward-Prowse because
Yeah.
he's not
Yeah.
physically good enough,
Preferably.
but but he's great at like a dead ball
Yeah.
situation, and he can create, but like not James Ward-Prowse because he's probably
Hmm.
not good enough. But like I'd like to see like a number 10 classic player. El Canusi would have been a good one. But you look at the top teams around the country, like Man City in recent years had Kevin De Bruyne, Arsenal have Martin Odegaard, and like I feel like the top teams all have like a talisman that can look to create those chances and be like a kind of an orchestrator of attacks and stuff like that. And I love Bruno, but I don't think he is that enough. But he scores goals, and he takes the team on very well, and there's no criticism of Bruno here, but I feel like as someone who's definite is someone who can control the midfield and help will be better in possession, which is something we're trying to lean towards as a team and as a philosophy, trying to be more comfortable on the ball and better in possession. So yeah, I think that's a no-brainer for me. Like, it's
Hmm.
got to be like a number 10, but
Yeah.
Eddie Howe in his press conference after the game today kind of shot down going for a number 10 type player.
Hmm.
And he's going to work with what he has. But for
Yeah.
me, that's got to come down to the way we've recruited in the summer. Really poor.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we can't really be complaining about PSR when we've spanked £100 million on Elanga and Ramsey, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
On the number 10, I think if we're talking personal preference, I would probably also prefer a number 10 over a deep line playmaker. I mean, I think we can take the number 6 out of the equation, the destroyer, because I do agree we have enough players who can break up play in the middle of the park. But it does concern me whether or not Eddie Howe would be willing to play an out and out number 10. On El Canous, though, he is only on loan at Stuttgart, and it doesn't seem like Leicester will be getting promoted because I think they are set 14th or 15th in the championship and have just lost to Oxford this weekend, so they won't likely be going up again. So maybe we could be going back in for him. He's still only 22 years old, so that would be very interesting in my opinion. And for the Moroccan national team, he often plays as more of a number 8 than number 10, but still with those creative capabilities. So that would potentially suit us very well. If we're looking at a deep lying playmaker, keeping within the Stuttgart realm, Angelo Stiller is a fantastic player in my opinion. I would really love to see him come to the Premier League. I don't know how realistic it is that he would come to us, but maybe he would like to link back up with Nick Voltemade. Um, Other deep lying playmakers, can't necessarily think of one off the top of my head. If you want to look in I mean, if we want to look in Holland, someone like Luciano Valente, but he's more of an El Canous profile. If we
Yeah.
want a deep line playmaker, Sven Botman's best friend, Joey Veerman, could be
Yeah.
could be a possibility, but maybe he didn't have a potentially great audition against us in the
No.
midweek. But
Nah,
yeah.
he didn't for sure. Like, um, but I know Eddie likes someone who's got Premier League experience, so I think that's where
Mhm.
an El Canous coming in would probably be a good one.
Absolutely.
But other than that, probably he'd probably look towards Elliot Anderson, in all fairness, because he's went to Nottingham Forest and tried
Hmm.
to and has became a bit of a number 6, if you will. But
Yeah.
I
I'm,
don't think I don't think he's the answer, to be
I
honest. I
mean, I
really do,
think he
because
would be fantastic because what he is doing right now for Nottingham Forest would be pretty much. I mean, he's a perfect fit because we probably need more of a passer and he's a ball mover. But I don't necessarily think we have to even discuss him because if I'm being honest, he's going either Liverpool or City this summer. And it's going to be for £100 million. That is how good he is at this moment in time. And it's unbelievable and I'm very happy for him, but I would have loved it even more if it was in black and white.
Yeah, for sure. But so we sold him for 15 million to get PSR sorted. So
yeah, and to get some Greek fraud in as well.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the PSV game a little bit. Kyle and I will take a break of a couple of minutes, and then we are going to come back on the PSV game and Champions League in general. So stay tuned for that one, as we will see you in a bit. Meanwhile, you guys at home can listen to Paul's final thoughts on that particular Aston Villa game. Little rant coming up. I hope you enjoy, and we'll be back within 5 minutes for the second part of this episode.
Well, I got the final score wrong and I got the fucking substitutions wrong as well. So a complete nut at full house. And we had a full house at St James's Park that watched Newcastle United lose 2-0 in a absolute limp, pathetic surrender type of a performance. Frustrating as fucking hell. Hey, goodness me, where to start with that one? Who did I think did well? Well, Lewis Hall, but there's no surprise because he's missed 8 out of 10 every game. Sven Botman, Lewis Miley. After that, I'm scraping it out. There wasn't enough urgency. The passing was terrible. It was side to side left, side to side right. Clip cross in. Not working the keeper enough. Clearly, the referee was atrocious, but you can't use it as an excuse. The referee was shocking. Not once, not twice, but time and time and time again for us. Awful referee, supposed to be one of the best ones. I do not see it in a month of Sundays, to be honest. It ruined the game as a spectacle. Their keeper as well taking the piss, but that was literally probably a blueprint performance for them. Away from home, get the first goal, sit back, frustrate the crowd, quieten the crowd down, try and chop the game up into as many small bits as is humanly possible, and they did that. They fell over, they rolled about, 1 went down, 2 went down, trying to stop the game all the time, taking an eternity over throw-ins, corners, goal kicks and so on, and the referee just allowed him to do that. But I don't really want to put today on the referee at all because it's down to us. Ultimately nowhere near good enough yet again. We've seen this performance many times this campaign, and another frustrating thing really for me was the fact that despite the fact that plan A, the 4-3-3 or 4-5-1 as it really more is, wasn't working, and it was clear as day to see that. And yet, did we change the formation? No. Did we? Fuck, it was just like for like all the way over the park. The substitutions when they were getting made, it was just like, it's just too safe, it's too predictable. You know, they didn't have to react to any of our changes or out like that. They changed during the game. They reacted when they needed to react. We did not, and we could still be playing, you know, by the time Toon Talk, the podcast, is finished, and we still would not have scored. That is the fact of the matter. It's not good enough. I don't want to hear anybody coming out saying, oh, it was a good performance, or it was a couple of moments. I don't want to hear any papering over the cracks, because we've had that even in victories this season. Papering over the cracks. Defeats, we'll just paper over the crack and we'll move on. Well, I think we are where we deserve to be, and that's bang in the mid-table battle. Unless you're signing players, unless we're trading a little bit this month, I can't really see how we're going to move on and move forward much more than what we are at the moment. We're a frustrating sight to watch, not very attractive on the eye. Just really disappointed today again, and it seems again this is another sort of repeating theme through the season. There seems like there's an opportunity to take one huge stride forward to get back into the European discussion, and we just nope, we don't want that. You know, we seem to sort of shy away from it. Every time we're given an opportunity, we shoot ourselves in the foot. We don't make it easy for ourselves, and the opposition, they're not going to make it easy for yourself. So I'm just majorly disappointed by the formation, by the performance, by the lack of shots on goal, the lack of urgency, the lack of passion. heart on your sleeve, pride in the shirt. I'm just disappointed on virtually every fucking metric you can possibly think of. Well, there's only the European champions next, so we'll see how that one goes. Anthony Gordon, yet again, another frustrating, disappointing performance. Still no goal from open play since the middle of January last year. It's a shocking, damning statistic. It really, really is. And that one rumbles on. But he wasn't alone today because there was a lot of them not chasing down, not pressing, not hungry enough for success, not hungry enough to take the weight of the shirt on. And yeah, I think that's all I can really add to it. But I'm just megally disappointed because it was such an opportunity today. And I felt it was there in the first 10 minutes. We had spells and opportunities where I thought, they're up for it today. Today's going to be a good day. But boy, once again, like with the scoreline prediction and Dan Burn coming on, was I wrong? And talking about Dan Burn and talking about Osula, what's the point of having them on the bench if you're not going to bring them on at all? Why do we put subs on who aren't back match fit and then just put them on just for the hell of it? Could we have not had Voltemada, Visser and Osula up top really have gone for it in the second half? Why do we not? Is my question. Anyway, I'll pass you back over to Ian. Yeah, start the long journey back home.
All right, and we are back for the second half. First of all, before we move on to the PSV game, I did want to go into one point I mentioned earlier, and that was why I thought Joelinton had a really poor game against Aston Villa. In my opinion, we were looking to create from crosses. That was really clear. But when Gordon was crossing, his crosses weren't good, but at least Wissa was in the box, Miley was in the box, even Trippier was crashing the box sometimes, Barnes was in the box, so there were people to aim for. When Barnes crossed it in, Joelinton was picking his nose on the flank with Gordon almost stuck to the sideline. And that is so unbelievably frustrating because it means that Aston Villa have 2 or 3 players all defending Wissa all at once. So there is no hope at all of getting anything from those crosses. So I thought Joelinton nullified almost half of our attacks in this particular game. And when it came to attacks coming from his side, I did not think he wanted to combine with anyone enough. I think every time Lewis Hall made the overlap away from him, Joelinton just decided, okay, that's my part done for this attack. And that was so unbelievably frustrating to me. So that's why I do not want to give Joelinton a high match rating for this performance at all. For me, Lewis Miley was by far our best player today.
Yeah, I posted it on my socials just after the game. Like, he isn't just for the future, he's for the now, and he should be one of the first names on the team sheet. Because whether he's right back, left side of midfield, right side of midfield, you get top quality from Lewis Miley, and he is one of the upcoming best midfielders that England's produced for a while. And I say that with full weight of confidence that he'll go on and become such a good player because my God, like technically he's unbelievable and his injury is helping him fill out a little bit more in terms of his physical attributes as well. But yeah, there was a couple of crosses into the box from Miley today where I'm like, creativity, we don't have that. That's something a little bit different than what we're used to having. And for me, like Miley's got to play. Like I don't care if you're taking out Joelinton or if you're taking out Tonali from that midfield when Bruno comes back, but Miley has to be in it. No doubt in my mind because he offers something forward thinking and something creative, something we're dying of a depth at the minute in games where we just need that little bit more. And actually, when Joelinton went off, Miley was pushed further back. And I think that killed us creatively because there was a couple of crosses that went into the box from Miley into the first half where it really good crosses. And in the second half, every cross that we had went straight in Martinez, sadly. So yeah, for me, Miley's got to play. He's been unbelievable. As for Joelinton, that he had a couple of in terms of getting playing out of trouble and stuff like he had a good couple of moments, but yeah, I thought Miley was a lot better in that midfield. And to be honest, Barring the first 10 minutes, I thought Tonali looked a bit off it today. Because he had that great bit of skill in the first 5 minutes where he beats three defenders and then forces a save from Martinez. But after that, like, I feel like when he's a deep player and he's trying to bring the ball out possession wise, he loses the ball quite a lot. And it is quite poor from him in that aspect. I just feel like Tonali's job should be that of what Joelinton's used to be, because Tonali's a bit more technically sound than what Joelinton is. And if Newcastle want to be a possession-based kind of team, you cannot afford to have two destroyers in a midfield three. I feel like that's where Miley could come in and be a little bit of a difference maker in that aspect, because if you want to be a team that's keeping the ball and being good in possession and trying to dictate play a little bit more, you've got to have technical players, and I just feel like Miley is so far ahead technically than Tonali and Joelinton. So for me, Miley's got to be playing games from now on, and he's got to be in the team. And if he isn't in the team and he is dropped, he has every right to be knocking on the door. He was dropped in midweek for the Champions League, and the first thing I said was, "Where's Miley? Why isn't Miley playing?" He's been brilliant at right back. He's been dependable. He's been reliable, and you drop him. It's just like that's another thing from Eddie Howe. I'm like
Yeah.
really like get annoyed with, because like players that do well, Barnes, Miley, consistently brilliant, but they get dropped for players, or they have to accommodate to poor players. Like Harvey Barnes has to accommodate to Gordon all the time, and Gordon hasn't scored a goal in open play in the league for over a year, and Barnes has done that like against Leeds a couple of weeks ago.
I
It's
think
just
Barnes, with the limited minutes he's had for us, I think he scored 6 or 7 braces, which is really, really impressive.
Yeah, he's outstanding, and he's either you play out of position or you don't play at all. And like for someone who's having a season like Barnes is still having to accommodate Anthony Gordon, to me is a fucking joke. Like it shouldn't be a thing, but it is, and it's another department or another aspect of Eddie Howe I really don't like. I love Eddie Howe, but
Yeah.
there is a couple of things where it's like you have to kind of put up with it and try and not think about to obviously get to the good thing. But it's like, yeah, it's frustrating. It can be in any way, because for me, Miley is an outstanding talent, and he should be in that team every single week.
Completely agree. I was very surprised to see Tonali be dropped for the PSV game as well, because I think Miley be dropped for the PSV game as well, because I mean, the tactical versatility he's shown over the last few weeks as well, to be able to translate the instructions he's getting from Eddie Howe so perfectly onto the pitch is really impressive as well, and is something Eddie Howe has talked about in the past. That is a quality he really appreciates in players. So show your appreciation. That being said, though, maybe it was rotation. The fact that Trippier started both games this week shouldn't be happening, like you said. If we are moving on to the lineup we did produce for the PSV game, so as we mentioned, it was without Miley. It was Pope, Hall, Botman, Thiaw, and Trippier in the back, so the same as Aston Villa. Joelinton, Tonali, and Bruno Guimarães in midfield, and Gordon, Wissa, and Barnes in attack. Let's listen to what Paul's thoughts were on that particular lineup.
So I'm at, well, I'm not at St James's Park, actually. That's a bit of a lie, because I'm still in the car. I'm at Newcastle City Centre. I'm parked up in the car, as I've just been saying. Going to head down to St James's Park now. Looking forward to tonight's game. The weather conditions aren't particularly good. They have travelled in numbers, though, the PSV fans, and will be nice and loud. Hopefully a good atmosphere inside the St James's Park. So I'm just going to go and see Kyle now. But I've got team news in, and I'm a bit surprised, to be honest. I thought Miley was rested at the weekend with this game in mind, so surprised to see Trippier in at right back, especially with their quick, sort of tricky players that they've got, very good technique, and with the way that they got at Liverpool, I was expecting to see Miley probably at right back and Trippier brought on to sort of try and see the game out. That was how I thought. Otherwise than that, it's just the Trippier, Voltemada question, who's going to start. Today, it's Visser's turn. and let's see how he does. Look, there's a player in there. We all know that. He's a real poacher. So if there is a couple of chances in the box, you hope that he drops to him, right place, right time in the box, and he's able to stick it away. It's just a matter of fitness, I think, with him. When you look at how he played for Brentford and stuff, and how he's been playing catch-up since in a Newcastle United shirt, I think it will come good. It's just a matter of getting him right, fit, firing, and used to the system. But apart from that, Tonali, interested to see how he performs today. He's had a couple of up and down, some good performances, some not so good. So looking for a big performance from him today. Joelinton will be crucial if we're to get a result out of it as well. I think the last couple of weeks, since he's recovered fully from his injury, he's looked fantastic. He's been a beast defensively, putting in lots of tackles, covering the ground, really trying to protect the defence. And the defence certainly has been better, I would say. But going forward, I think he's made a real good difference. He's been operating just behind the striker, trying to get closer to the striker, being a menace, getting chances. Even last time out, he had one or two opportunities against Wolves to be able to be the match winner, and it just didn't come off for him. But at least he's getting into them positions, he's getting himself forward, and it's back to sort of the Joelinton I think we all love. There is a couple of suspension worries. If Chow or Joelinton, I think it is, get a yellow card tonight, then they will miss the PSG game. And with our squad pretty paper thin, we can't really afford for too many to be missing out on that trip, can we? But apart from that, get behind the lads. Let's make it a cauldron of noise. I'm looking forward to getting down there. Champions League game. We need the 3 points, get through, and continue the adventure on into the knockout phases. Another bit of an interesting stat that if Gordon gets a goal today, he will tie Shearer's record, won't he, for the most goals in the Champions League campaign. So, it's the Champions League. For all of you thinking, Gordon scoring goals, hasn't he not gone a whole year? It's the Champions League. He still scores in the Champions League. It's just the Premier League where he hasn't scored from open play since last January. Champions League, he just does seem to turn up, and this could be the perfect type of fixture for a Gordon type, classic performance. Fingers crossed. Anyway, I'll come back to you at half time, myself and Kyle inside St James's Park, hopefully talking about a couple of Newcastle United goals. Wouldn't that be nice, eh?
And I mean, it's almost the same lineup as it was against Aston Villa. Did you have any other thoughts apart from Louis Miley not being there before the game?
Going into the game, the only thing for me was why wasn't Lewis Miley starting? But other than that, I'm thinking like, right, this is a strong team and certainly good enough to be at least a match. Because I think when we spoke about PSV on the preview, it kind of stuck with us that they're not physically good. And to be honest, that game went as you kind of said it would. Even though they beat Liverpool and they got a good result in Leverkusen in the Champions League, did PSV. They're a good technical side for sure. They've got some good technical players, but physically they just weren't up to it. And they gave for 2 goals, but they couldn't deal with our press. I haven't said that this season because teams are able to deal with how we press, but Visa was more than a handful for their centre backs, and yeah, it was the team from a team perspective. I thought we looked really positive.
Yeah, I thought on the 2 goals they gifted us, I think Gaziarowski struggled a bit with translating the pace at which Dutch football normally is played for one Champions League football, but to Premier League football as well, and then to one of the most intense pressing sides in that particular league, which I mean we definitely are, despite the fact that you are very right. Teams seem to be handling our pressure a lot better than in previous years, which we are struggling with as well, because if teams choose their moments better, which for example Aston Villa really are, Villa are a team that pick their moments perfectly to win games. We don't do that. We need to really heavily outperform you to win a game comfortably. And that's something to look into as well, for sure, which again comes down to a creativity issue, because it is players solving problems in real time that gives you creativity and that gives you those moments to win games. But we did not need any of those moments against PSV, mostly down to the 2 goals they gifted us. The first goal they gifted us was the one that Wissa scored himself, I think. Yeah, in the eighth
Yeah,
minute.
that's right.
Really, really glad for him to score on his Champions League debut to take home the Man of the Match award as well. I mean, that would have been a dream for him. And that's also something I'm starting to notice. I think Visa is a lot, or Visa, because yeah, Wissa, he's born in France, so it is Wissa probably. Um, he is better when he starts than when he comes off the bench, in my opinion. He struggles to really make an impact. I also think that's because we struggle to shift our focus when switching between those two strikers. It seems like when we start the game crossing to Voltemade, we continue to cross when Wissa comes on, and when we start the game with Wissa and get the chance to play through balls, then all of a sudden Voltemade starts to get those through balls when he gets onto the field. So
Yeah.
we need to show a bit more adaptability as well. But I'm really glad for him. And very, very good press as well for the second goal, which the presence of mind to square it to Gordon is fantastic as well. For the first goal, it was Joelinton who squared it to Wissa. Really great goals. And after that, we never got into trouble. Let's listen to Paul's thoughts on the first half.
Well, no half-time update today, but full-time. Newcastle United, more than worth, more than good value for the money in a 3-0, comfortable as you like. That takes us through to the knockout stages of the Champions League, whether that be the extra playoff round or straight through. Either which way, does it really matter? We got the business done. Yes, we were given gifts, but you've got to take the opportunities. You've got to be in the right places. And today I thought that was a much improved Newcastle United performance. On the front foot, there to capitalise on the mistakes when they made them. And for Dutch champions, there's a lot of talk in the build-up, obviously, about the match at Anfield and what they did to Liverpool. And there was a lot of people saying that they could do that today at St James's Park against Newcastle United. But to be honest, they were an absolute and utter pale imitation of what I was expecting to see in front of us. Before I start the game, a little bit of a gripe today. Hundreds and hundreds of people queuing at the box office. Problems once again with the sort of Aldi knockoff scanners that they've got in the turnstiles. Not up to spec, not up to standard, not doing the business, and nobody there with an absolute clue of what to do if there's a problem. All the way around to the box office. And frustrating start to the evening. They're talking about building atmosphere and stuff, and then they put these absolutely dodgy, Aldi-esque, scan your own type thing in the turnstiles, and they were absolutely and utterly horse shit. So a stressful start to the day, but PSV was certainly there to make sure that we were going to be getting through to the next round. Great performances all around. The defence, magnificent. Sven Botman out to prove a point against Dutch opposition, with obviously a lot of people from his homeland watching, did just that. The entire defence was fantastic. Joelinton again got an assist, was all over the place, looking good. I think the only slight negative on the day was an injury to Bruno. Hopefully that's not too bad, and it was precautionary because he did play on a little bit. So you would hope and think that he is okay, and they were just being safe rather than sorry. Goals as well. Harvey Barnes. How class is Harvey Barnes? Delighted for him to get another goal, leading the goal scoring charts. Anthony Gordon as well, not doing it in open play in the Premier League, but Champions League, that's a different kettle of fish. He's equalled Alan Shearer's best ever Champions League goal tally in a season with that goal today. Cool head, slotted away, but his general, I think, performance was very, very, very encouraging. I've said about the last few weeks, I've seen green shoots, apart from the Wolves game, which was absolutely diabolical from everybody pretty much. I have seen green shoots of recovery in Gordon, and today I thought he stepped it up again. We had other opportunities to score other goals. We've missed a golden chance to put it in the net. Alanga came on as a substitute, and he was here, there and everywhere. Energetic, enthusiastic, positive performance from Alanga, and again unlucky not to score. Had the chances to score, good that he didn't do it. But good changes were made by Eddie, trying to protect players. Would I have liked to have seen maybe a young Murphy come on, a young Shahar come on? Yes, ideally I perhaps would have blooded them in if that was me, but who am I to question Eddie? Job is done. Newcastle United through to the next phase of the Champions League, whatever that may be. We're going to be in European competition after the league phase has finished. Anthony Gordon equaling records, doing the business in Europe. Vissa getting a goal, how important that'll be for his confidence. And just looking like an all-round good team performance. It wasn't the normal get the ball out wide, piss fart around out wide, and then overhit and overclub the pass in. There was work around the box, trying to slide in little balls through the central areas. There were good crosses from outside. There was moments when we really got at their defence and ran at them and looked to commit their defenders, and it was absolutely fantastic. I'm 99% certain that Chow and Joelinton got through the match without receiving a booking. They were in danger of a suspension against PSG if they had done, so hopefully that's A-OK. Despite the quite fussy referee, but, better than some of the English referees that we've had recently, to be honest, because they have been shocking in the majority of games, to be honest, this season. But I am absolutely fucking delighted. After the frustrations down at Molineux and the performance or the lack of it, today was just what the doctor ordered. A clean sheet. Delighted for Popey, delighted for the defence. Sven Botman in particular, class. Lewis Hall, amazing. What a player that lad is. Kieran Trippier as well, showing all of his experience and class and finesse during the game. Some lovely pass backs to Pope just to take the sting out of PSV when they needed to on the occasions. Tonali run everywhere. I touched upon Joelinton, I thought was fantastic. Bruno put a shift in before he had to go off. Miley, of course, came on, the Swiss utility knife of footballers. He played midfield, he played right back as well. Barnes, fantastic once more. What a season he's having. Doesn't matter if he has to play on the right-hand side, he still does the business. Gordon looking great, looking good, looking like the player that we know he is and what he's capable of. And up top, Vissa got the goal, put a shift in, could have had more, possibly should have had more, but look, you get into the positions, you're there to miss the chances. That's better than not being involved in stuff. And we look so much better when we get the ball around the box and just play little triangles and little through balls and, not always going out wide. Plenty of variation to the play as well, which delighted yours truly, to be honest. Substitutions made at good times to rest players, to protect players, to give other players opportunities off the bench. So all around, a very, very good day at the office. I didn't get drenched, and that was me worry beforehand, before the shenanigans with the box office. But top and bottom of it, what a night, what a performance, what a team. And who are we going to get in the next round? Unbelievable. Champions League nights, under the lights, nothing better. I'll leave it there, pass you back to Ian, and I'll speak to you later.
And I imagine when we were 2-0 up at the halftime, you thought this game was pretty much done and dusted already, wasn't it?
Yeah, we felt really comfortable, and Chow and Botman, who, to be fair, are starting to look the real deal as a partnership for me. Even today, as much as we lost, I thought Botman and Chow were really effective together. But in this game, they were comfortable. Honestly, they were so comfortable. Playing out from the back and just physically just being so much stronger. Where we're back forward, I don't think we had a chance really against win the whole 90 minutes, where you could say PSV are going to score here and are going to cause problems. But like at half time, my thinking was, could we give maybe a chance to like one of the youngsters, maybe like a Sean Neve coming off the bench, or a Leo Shahar coming off the bench? That would have been nice to see. Maybe seeing a couple of chances like Alanga coming on, and maybe trying to get yourself a goal or something like that. Like my thinking was kind of, right, we've won this one now. Can we kick into gear and try and manage the game as best we can into the weekend for Villa at the time?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think we did. We scored a third goal in the second half, which was this time for Harvey Barnes, who scored his fifth of the season in the Champions League, I think it is.
Yeah, that's right.
Which are really impressive stats yet again from him. I know Gordon has got a couple of goals in the Champions League as well, but some of those were penalties, so maybe take that with a pinch of salt too. But on Botman and Thiaw, I think you make a really, really good point there. They were massive this game. because PSV were not able to handle our pressure, which meant at a certain point they decided to just go long every single time. And every single time they went long, they lost it. And we got the chance
Yeah.
to just rebuild, recycle, get another attack going. That was really, really impressive. And let's not forget, this is a side that scored six goals against Napoli, that scored 3 goals at Anfield against Liverpool. They have goals in them. They know how to play football. We perfectly played that physical card, that physical edge we had over them. And yes, we were also lucky that they are missing all 3 of their recognized strikers, and their best player only recently returned from Africa Cup of Nations.
Hmm.
In the same breath, he was suspended for this game anyway, so even if he wasn't with Morocco for the Africa Cup of Nations, he couldn't feature either way. So it was a bit of a makeshift 11, but still a massively, massively impressive and much needed performance, because what we now get to talk about, which is very exciting, is the possibility of us actually finishing within the top 8 of this Champions League. We are now set in 7th on 13 points, I believe.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there is about 900 teams who share that points total. We do have a fantastic goal difference, so that does help us a lot. But we also are the most difficult fixture out of any teams around us. All those teams face teams in the lower half of the table, so they are expected to win. Maybe Chelsea Napoli is one where you struggle to really point to a favorite. But with this one, if you were to point to a favorite, you would probably have to say Paris Saint-Germain, wouldn't you?
Being they're the European champions, they have a fantastic group of players at the moment, and it is going to be, especially with our away form at the best of times, has been shocking. Um, and yeah, it's one of them I don't fancy with to go there and get 3 points, even one with the way the kind of the table is. One doesn't really do any good.
Hmm.
Um. So for me, I think it's an opportunity for Witter to go for it because I don't really see Witter as under pressure here. Like I feel like we're through to the next round now. We're going to be in the top 24 regardless, and I think if we do lose, looking at the table here, you're probably looking at 14th or 15th maybe,
Yeah.
and I think that would be quite respectable in all fairness. Like I
Hmm.
think we've won the games we've needed to win. We went to Union and won convincingly. We've beat Bilbao, Benfica convincingly, and as well as that winning against PSV. Quite convincingly. If I said that twice, I'm sorry.
No, no
But
worries.
but yeah, like I feel like we've done really well in the Champions League group. I feel like we've been convincing in these games. Obviously Barcelona side and Marseille side, maybe even Leverkusen. I think I look at Leverkusen as like if we'd have been able to hang on and get an extra 2 points there, we would have been tied fourth right now, and we would have been looking into this game against PSG, quite thinking like
A
a
draw is
point would
enough,
be enough.
probably. Yeah.
A point would have been enough. So it's a bit of a it's a bit of a bitter pill to swallow in that aspect because I feel like we could have been higher, but we've still made a good account of ourselves. And
Hmm.
the expectation from me when we sat down to do the Champions League preview podcast was very much if we can surpass what we did the first time we win the Champions League, which is get through to the next round, then I'd be quite happy. And I think we're in the top 24. It's just a case of the luck of the draw who we're getting to the next round from there. But with the way we've been against certain teams, if it's a foreign team, which I think because of the rules it has to be,
Yeah.
I do fancy we're in that aspect to be able to go and try and progress to the next
Hmm.
round from there. So for me, I'm quite happy with the way we've performed in the Champions League thus far. Just obviously, like when we do come up against a tougher side, if you will, how we're going to respond to that. Because at home this season, we haven't been able to really win the big games against the big
Hmm.
teams, and then away from home, we've just been absolutely shocking. So,
Yeah.
like, we're going to have to overcome a lot when that game comes
Hmm.
in the Champions League. Those big games are going to come. So, for me, it's just a case of can we handle it when it comes. But playoff round, whether it's playoff round or the last 16, that we do come up against, I'm looking forward to St James's Park on a Champions League knockout night. That'll be a new
Absolutely.
one for me, so I'm looking forward to
Absolutely.
that.
Completely agree. I mean, not to say I disagree with what you're saying, because quite unfortunately I don't, and I think the likelihood is you're right, and this is going to be a game where we struggle quite a bit, and Paris Saint-Germain might well come out on top just because they have a lot of very, very good players and they are at home. We've struggled away from home. But in the same breath, the fact that there isn't any pressure on us could also mean feelings of vengeance from 2 seasons ago when we had to leave the Parc des Princes with a very undeserved 1-1 draw when we really should have won that game if it weren't for some dodgy refereeing. Um, and also, Paris Saint-Germain really aren't in the greatest vein of form at this moment in time. They lost the last match day, round 7 against Sporting Lisbon, 2-1 in Portugal,
Yeah.
which means they are now in a position where they are on the same amount of points as we are. So this game for them is just as important as it is for us, or as unimportant as it is for us. If you think uh, being in the top 24 is good enough, which for us it probably is, for them it probably isn't. And in the Ligue 1, they are struggling quite a bit as well. I saw on Friday they only won 1-0 against Auxerre. Before that, they did beat Lille 3-0, 3-0, but they also lost against Paris FC, their local rivals, in the cup, which is a defeat that will
Yeah.
massively hurt them, because a lot of supporters said this is the first time it feels like there's actually a rivalry starting to grow in Paris. So that will
Yeah.
be something that I mean, it will have at least some effect on the players. Add to that the fact that they've had injuries throughout this entire season. They are really struggling with the having had to play the Club World Cup all the way through to the final as well. Every important player of them has missed at least some time with injuries. Some of them are already back, but still not necessarily fit, so to speak. They only beat Angers as well by scoring in the 80th minute.
Mm.
There is some potentially I mean, there is a result to be had here. There is potential for an upset, and
Oh
it
yeah,
would be a
100% there is,
really,
yeah.
really historical night for us. So,
The thing is, though, if obviously based off today's defeat and it's bad, what a great opportunity we'll have to go and win it, and have like almost a free shot at the European champions. And if you win, it's going to do so much for confidence and stuff like that. And like it's a fantastic opportunity for the players and the manager as well to go and prove a few people wrong and go and get a result. Um, I was in Paris a couple of weeks ago and went to the Parc de Prince, and they
mhm.
do this thing where they let you score in the ground. So I don't want to be the only Newcastle related person to score a goal in the Parc de Prince this year. So please don't let us down, Newcastle, when we get to it.
Yes.
When I was there, I did notice a couple of weird things. Actually, the club shop for PSG is
Uh-huh.
actually in the stadium of Paris FC, and I
Yeah.
asked the people, yeah, it's actually in the it's actually in the stadium of Paris
Uh-huh.
FC, and the Paris FC stadium when I went wasn't open, but the PSG one was.
Yeah.
Um, it was so bizarre. I even asked staff, I'm like, is this normal? Like, uh, Paris FC,
Yeah.
like, is there any rivalry? They're like, well, there's rivalry on one side. Paris FC don't like
Hmm.
PSG, but PSG don't really feel anything
Yeah.
towards Paris, and the main rival is Marseille. But like, I thought it was really bizarre because like you've
Hmm.
got another club shop, albeit your biggest rivals
Yeah.
in the just front and center as a club shop in your ground, and I just thought that was a bit bizarre, but
Yeah, that is really
um
weird.
yeah, but yeah, it like I say, it's a free hit for Newcastle, a chance
Hmm.
to go there and get revenge from a couple of years ago. Because the first thing when I walked into the Parc de Prince, the first thing I thought of was it needs to be justice for Tino in a couple of days because we
Absolutely.
got robbed that night in Paris, and I'd love to right that wrong. I would, to
Yeah.
quote Kevin Keegan, would love it.
Fantastic. I mean, with that win over Auxerre, PSG did reclaim top spot in the League 1, but that's also a sign that they are significantly weaker than last season because up to this weekend it was Lens leading the pack in Ligue 1 for quite some time as well. And I mean, with all due respect to Lens, they don't have any of the financial means that Paris Saint-Germain do. They don't pay any of the wages Paris Saint-Germain do, so it's massively impressive to see them there, but probably not sustainable. Yeah, do you have any final predictions for this Paris Saint-Germain fixture?
For PSG, I actually think we'll get a draw.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a draw does we're any good in the grand scheme of
It
things.
probably doesn't.
I think both teams are gonna go for it a little bit and kind of have one eye on other things because I think PSG with them struggling in Liga 1 at the minute and obviously struggling with consistency there, us in the Premier League. I think there's just going to be eye on other things kind of thing. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's a little bit of rotation, a couple of chances for maybe Alanga, Jacob Ramsey in from a start. Walter Morda getting a start as he's fell out with the starting 11 recently for Visa. Maybe a couple of chances for some players, but I think we'll get a 1-1 draw, and I think that'll be fine, and we'll finish between 12th and 16th, and I think that'll be a good account of ourselves going into what will be a playoff round. If we go and win against PSG, then we're top 8, and that's even better. But I'm not expecting that.
Yeah. Yeah. My prediction for this game, I'm going to go for. You know what? I'm going to be a very positive guy. Unfortunately, even though the result today wasn't, I will say we beat PSG 3-1 away. 2-1, a very close game, and then in the dying seconds, 3-1 to give us breathing space and to take the 3 points home.
If you're right, I'll buy you a drink of your choice. I don't know if you're more of a pint type or whatever, but whatever it is, I'll make sure I can get it over to
Fantastic.
Belgium for you if we win 3-1 on Wednesday. We'll
I'll keep
take
you
that
to
all the
that.
way to the bank. Absolutely.
Fantastic. It is really hard to predict what opponent we will be facing, whatever result we get, because I mean there are so many teams in and around us on the same point tallies. Like I said, Chelsea face Napoli under there, but the teams who are on the same points as we are, so 13. The only one who is above us is Paris Saint-Germain, so the team we face. Then it's Chelsea under us who face Napoli, Barcelona who face Copenhagen, so you expect them to win any day.
Yeah.
Sporting Lisbon do have to travel to Bilbao, which really isn't an easy fixture for them.
Yeah, considering where Bilbao was, as well, they're 23rd at the minute. So
Absolutely, so they need every single point as well. Man City, they host Galatasaray. You probably expect them to get that done when it is for all the marbles,
absolutely.
especially after that dramatic performance against Bode and Glimt over the weekend. Atletico, they face Bode, but they are at home, so they don't have to travel to Norway, which makes a massive difference for them. And then all the way in 13th is another team who are still on the same amount of points as we are, Atalanta Bergamo. They are traveling to Union, so they are traveling to Belgium. And then even still, there's Inter and Juve, both on 12 points, who face Dortmund and Monaco. So there's still a long way for us to drop potentially, but also a potential for us to climb if we do get the 3 points. The nice thing about being in 7th and having such a good goal difference is it's completely up to us. If we win, we don't necessarily have to look at the other results. We will most likely be in there. As for the opponent we are likely to face, if we are in that top 8, it is pretty much impossible to predict. If we are not, then it is 9th facing 24th, 23rd facing 10th, etc., etc. So you'd probably be looking at either Galatasaray, Karabakh, PSV, Olympiacos, Copenhagen, Club Brugge, Bode as the teams you'd like to get. AS Monaco even, because they aren't good at all at this moment in time, with Pocognoli as their manager, who you might remember from playing at left back for West Brom.
Yeah.
So he won Union Saint-Gilloise the league last year. He was still coach when they faced us. But he's not
that's
doing
right.
well.
I thought it was a familiar name. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. But he's not doing well out there in Monaco. So it probably won't last all that long. Some more difficult teams we could be facing. Inter and Juve could still drop. Borussia Dortmund is there. Galatasaray is there. Teams we have already faced, Marseille and Bayer Leverkusen, are still there. And Napoli is also there. sitting in 25th as of now, so they actually need a result against Chelsea because otherwise they won't be within the top 24, which is mad to think for the Serie A champions. But it is also something Conte is pretty much known for, to underperform in the Champions League. So a really, really, really interesting league phase. I also think I forgot to mention Tottenham.
The fifth.
Yeah, it's insane. And they are facing Eintracht Frankfurt as well, which I think they've got in the bag.
Yeah, they beat them in the Europa League, didn't they, last year?
Yeah, and they've got them. They've now sacked their manager as well. Dino Topmuller has gone because defensively they're just too suspect.
Frankfurt kind of get through, can they? By the looks of it, yeah. They'd still be a point short. So
yeah, very interesting stuff. So yeah, a lot of things to look forward to. A lot of games to check whilst checking Newcastle against Paris Saint-Germain. But that's the fun part of the last game week in the league phase, and then we can look out to knockout football, which will be fantastic. Knockout football under the lights. Did you said this would be a first for Champions League or any sort of European knockout football?
It wouldn't be the first for European because I was in St James's Park for the last knockout game that we had there, which was against Benfica in the Europa League a few years back, and I was at nearly every home game in the knockout phase for that as well. So it'll be the first for a while, but definitely me first for the Champions League. So I think that'll be a really interesting night for sure.
Fantastic. All right. That's really, really awesome. I am very much looking forward to that game and to discussing whatever opponent we might be facing next, whether it is as one of the top 8 sides, which would be, I mean, Aston Villa did it last season, but still, it would be so unbelievably impressive if we were to get there. And even still, we will be in the knockout phase, whatever happens. So we can only look back at this Champions League campaign with some pride, but that also depends on the way we probably go out. Because if we, for example, get Karabakh and Karabakh is a really, really, really hard team to beat. But if you go out against a team like that, it leaves such a sour taste in your mouth. So
it does, yeah.
I would really hate it. If we were to go out, I want to go out to Vincent Kompany's Bayern or something.
Yeah, someone like a bit up there, someone who's got a chance to win and not. If we go out to Karabakh, I mean, my God.
With all due respect to Karabakh, of course.
Yeah, they're a good team, and they seem to be like the gritty underdog of the Champions League this year. And everybody loves an underdog, but you don't love an underdog when you play against them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, my feelings on Karabakh are a bit more mixed because I did some research on them for a project, and it turns out they are a bit of a walking PR campaign for Azerbaijan and the region there. So it's a bit of a difficult one, but without getting too political, the football they play is really, really great stuff. Some really great stuff. And for Azerbaijan as a country, it is fantastic to have a team which is very, very likely, they are sitting on 10 points, very likely to qualify for the next round of the Champions League. And that's mightily impressive.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to add on the Champions League?
On the Champions League front, no, I think it feels a lot more positive to talk about the Champions League than it does the league. I'm just hoping we can put ourselves in a position in the league to be able to speak about Champions League a bit like a lot more and be able to progress.
I mean, we're still 3 or 4 points behind 5th place, so it is still very possible.
Yeah, if we're gonna start to be consistent, though, we need it. It needs to be soon because I feel like the inconsistencies is costing us dearly.
Absolutely, completely agree with that. Please, anybody at home, let us know what you thought of our performance against Aston Villa and what you think we will do against Paris Saint-Germain in midweek. Let us know how hyped you are for that game as well. And for now, me and Kyle would really like to thank you for listening or watching whatever device or whatever platform you used to get this podcast. If you use Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star rating. Everything is appreciated over there. If you listened or watched this via YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel. Check out Magpie 24/7 on every social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You know the drill. And we would like to see you in the next episode. Have a good one.